Welcome back to Green Chat. We're going to take a closer look at an upcoming MMO, Pantheon Rise of the Fallen. My name is Cleeze, and let's get started. Hey guys, and welcome back to Green Chat, where you guys can ask me questions. I can give you my opinion to hopefully formulate your own on Pantheon Rise of the Fallen. Before we begin though, if you guys could ask me questions in a little bit of a different way, if you could just send me a message on YouTube versus in the comments, it'll make it a bit more linear. I'm going to go through really quick how to do that because myself had to look it up, or I myself had to look that up. So here, let's do this. Jump over to my screen. Bam. Click on this old guy because it's a good YouTube video to use in as an example, of course. So what you're going to do is you want to find the author. Boom, it's loading really quickly. And then you go to About. This is on any YouTube page. Sorry, it's making noise. And then boom, right here, send a message to the user. Bada bing. Hey, oops, wrong keyboard, whatever. You type it in there and you say, hey, what's up with Pantheon? And I'll get it. All right, and on with the show. Thanks, guys, for doing that. The problem I was running into is, you know, somebody would respond to or put a comment or a question in like a previous video, and then somebody put in a later video, and then get all kind of out of whack. So we're going to continue with the questions, and let's rock and roll. Rock and roll. All right, so first up, we have a continuation from Robert from last week. He's asking, with large level time spans comes greater risk of level disparity between friends and guildmates. Ugh. If I'm 3 levels behind my friends, it might take days or weeks to catch up. How close in level, both character level and item level, do people need to be in Pantheon in order to work together? Really quickly shoot this out there. Let's say I'm level 10, you're level 20. It's either going to be 10 level or 6 levels. I'm thinking they're going to shoot for 10. So if I'm level 10, you're level 20, we'll still get experience. I'll get much more per kill than you just because we'll probably be doing something much more difficult than I'm typically doing with people my level. And you'll be doing something much easier than, you know, what's typical for your level. So even if we're doing stuff, you know, on the level of you, obviously I'll get way more experience, and eventually I will Eventually I will catch up. It's just the way that the math works out. Furthermore, they're going to be putting something in the game. At least they've been discussing it across the forums. I'm not sure if it's set in stone yet. Definitely something they're going to be working on. I would expect is a mentoring system. So if you're top level and I'm level 1 just starting, you can mentor down to me and be the same level as me and have it be relevant for that content. And I guess you might get some kind of reward from that as well, as being the mentoree or mentorer. Furthermore, Robert is asking, is there a skill-based component, or is it more of a straight stat-based formula for being able to do certain content? To answer that question, it's going to be both. You will have skills and stats that allow you to do certain content. Will you be locked from anything? Not so much, but you will have like one-hand slashing skill, shield skill, stuff like that, and as you use it more, it raises in skill, which allows you to hit better or defend better, etc. And then you will have stats that also support you in battle that will help you do certain content or hinder you from doing certain content, or gate you from doing certain content because you don't have enough stats to do it. Okay, next up we have a question from Lady Benbow. She's asking, Cleeze, may I call you that? Yes, you may. What sort of character appearance customizations will Pantheon have? So what they've said on this is they'll have a basic character creator, what you'd come to expect in most modern MMOs. So, you know, like facial features, body sliders, hairdos. What they haven't mentioned is, will everything be, you know, off a character creator, or will you be able to achieve hairdos in the world? You know, like, who knows? Or even like get a scar on your face after doing some amazing battle where you suffered radical damage. At some point, I would expect them to have a rather robust character creation, especially with the type of engine they're using. But at the get-go, they said expect what you would see in any current MMO that's out there right now, which is usually, you know, a couple different body types, a couple different faces, tons of different hairdos, a lot of different tattoos and stuff like that, and, you know, body features and heights and sizes. You know, you want to be fat, you want to be muscular, you want to be skinny, or, you know, athletic. That's what I would expect from Pantheon Rise of the Fallen. Next up, we have a question from Anonymous, and he or she is asking, has VR said anything about class-defining abilities? It's not a pre-alpha probing question, just in general. Rogue poison making, lock picking, warrior defensive abilities, etc. So if you go over to Pantheon's website, what you'll notice is some of the classes have defining abilities attached to them. I think rogue, shaman, cleric for sure have some attached. You can go check them out. And then some just are completely blank with the class description under it. Now, what this leads me to believe is that they kind of want to have each class to have this defining ability that sets it apart from others in a group environment. The problem I see with this is in development, at least later down the road, you can kind of get your hands tied as far as if you want to make some changes, you might have to make changes across the entire board with these abilities. I think it would make more sense just to put these basic abilities, or not basic, but the special class abilities, part of the toolkit of the class. So to kind of summarize, they kind of put some out there on some of the abilities, but I think why they kind of stopped is they may hopefully have noticed that this might not be a great idea. Let's take a couple steps back and just use class descriptions and make these abilities part of the class as itself, or maybe not. Maybe they'll do it and we'll be like, oh, this is super cool. You know, it's just my opinion. So next up, we have a statement from Strayden79. He's saying, the graphics is better than EQ for sure, but doesn't look like that great, or excuse me, but doesn't look as great as I hoped. Hopefully the gameplay will overshadow it as far as the mechanics go and stuff like that. So the gameplay you're looking at behind me is pre-alpha, that is the thing, of Pantheon Rise of the Fallen. So there's going to be placeholders for just about everything. Every character is going to look the same because there's probably just one model made for any given race that you're actually seeing. And, you know, placeholders, like when they're casting, they're like, oh, you know, there's no like motion or anything like that as far as that goes. So that is pre-alpha, is very early in development, placeholders, etc. So you're gonna have to, you know, as the game matures, you'll see more cool stuff, and the graphics improve. It should, of course it will. And just so you guys know. Next up, we have a comment from RavenShade32. Raven saying this game is purely for those of us that played EverQuest back in the era of 98 through 06-ish. Many others and new players just won't get it. I, for one, am glad this style of MMO is coming back and cannot wait. Yes, it might be simple for today's standards, but MMOs like these are what shaped the MMOs we have now. They are just dumbed down a lot for the kids that wanted everything in one hit. Now, I'm really glad Raven's bringing this up because it brings an interesting point that I've kind of heard a lot about this. I would almost guarantee that most EQ players are usually of the older, you know, they're going to be the older crowd, and the new, you know, current MMO players are going to be the younger guys that are very used to, like Raven's saying here, the one hit, wanted everything in one hit type situation. Like bam, bam, have all this loot. Now, there is a ton of people, my friends included, that have never played EverQuest and they're super jacked for Pantheon Rise of the Fallen without me even really pumping it up that much and just giving them the raw, you know, this is what it's like, man. You die and your week's worth of effort is gone. But not really that bad, but pretty much that's what I've said. And they're like, that's so cool. So I really wanted to address this statement just kind of one by one. So we'll go through. I think new players may not get it right when they start, but after they've played it a little bit, they'll really get what Pantheon Rise of the Fallen is trying to immerse them in. Especially just with death penalties alone is going to make the game very interesting for a lot of people that have especially never seen this genre. And I think it's awesome they're bringing this back. And I think you'd be surprised how many people you'll see in Pantheon that have never played EverQuest or UO or Vanguard or any game with these types of aspects in them. And then you go on to say that this game might be simple for today's standards, but MMOs like these are what shaped the MMOs we have now. So what I would say about that is, yes, it is simple. This game, Pantheon, will 100% be very simplistic in the sense of when you start playing, combat's simple, how you learn your skills is simple, what you need to achieve your goals is simple. But once you start getting up to level 15, 20, 30, 40, and really start taking a bigger look at the game and its scope increases as far as what you're capable of doing, I think it'll really surprise you with how complex it can get, especially with doing very, you know, difficult content in this game, because you have so many abilities, so many different strategies and ways to approach things, in that what one person can do here maybe takes, you know, 4 people to do the same thing because this player is that much better or that more skilled with this game. And I think there's a lot of room for skill to have presence in you just playing the game, especially at higher level content. And lastly, you mentioned how a lot of things have been dumbed down a lot for kids that want everything in one hit, for instance. And I think you'd be really surprised, especially if you play modern MMOs, if you play like a current MMO right now, and you play in the cutting edge of that content, it's usually pretty difficult. It's not just one hit. It's rather challenging, very difficult, very little of the population actually complete that content before it becomes obsolete. The problem I think you're running into is there's a lot of content that becomes obsolete and becomes one hit everything. So the players that are looking for that challenge are the ones that are leaving these games because the challenge is there, but then it just kind of dissipates so quickly. And the feeling you get for achieving these challenges is is gone because they're making these games so casual and to the point where everything is eventually one-hit kills, where you can kind of solo encounters for the most part. So to summarize, I like that you brought this up, and I think just in general, I think you'll be pleasantly surprised at the type of crowd you'll find in Pantheon, especially the people that have never played any game like Pantheon. And it's going to be on people like us, you and me, to really guide them through what this is all about. And everybody that wants anything in one hit is quickly going to get weeded out by level 10. They're going to be like, oh my gosh, this is terrible. I actually have to put effort into the game to get a reward. That's crazy. What kind of madness is this? Give me something else. But you get my point. All right, so next up we have a rather depthy question from Lady Bembo. So excuse me as I stumble my way through this one. So to begin, Lady Bembo's asking, and I'm not editing or changing any of these words. Get ready. Lady Bembo is commenting, I must ask you a question about world immersion. I'll try to trim this down and leave the long, hairy stuff to the main man, Robert. That's, you know, if you guys have been watching, Robert asks a lot of pretty good questions. What concepts does the game feature to create an immersive environment? How does it aim to create meaningful storylines and unique player experiences? Other MMOs have recently gone the route of streamlining quests and taking players out of the environment. So true. Sorry if I stumbled over some words. There was more I wanted to ask, but I'll shave it for later. I gotta say, the first time I read this, I was laughing pretty hard. So Lady Bembo, kudos to you. That was pretty funny. So let's start with what concept has the games featured to create an immersive environment. So as we mentioned before, there's the perception system where you can interact with certain elements of your environment to really open up quests, open up like text-based dialogue, open up who knows what. They're going to take this perception system, I think, a whole new route, and it's really going to definitely immerse you in your immediate environment, maybe the whole world itself or cities, who knows. But it's really kind of an interesting system that has very little limits from what I've seen. Just how they implement it will be the real crux on that one. Also, the environment itself, I think, will really depict to you what's going on around you and immerse you in the environment more so than other games, because it's going to tell its story through the environment versus quests versus quests. Some of their quests will tell you about the environment and stuff like that, but moreover in this game it's going to be telling you, or you're going to be perceiving more of the lore of why things are the way they are around where you are at through your environment, which to me is very immersive. To actually step into a zone, it's fire. You know, it's the music, the way the town's set up, the way people are reacting to your presence, the way mobs are reacting to your presence, the way the mobs even look, the way anything looks in that general stance, is really going to be the immersion factor. And I think they're really going to set that as a very important point to this game, is that your environments will be very convincing, and they'll also be very engaging in the sense that there's the perception system, and they'll encourage you to explore them, which I think is kind of lost in some games. Things are kind of point and shoot now with, like, you know, here's a quest, okay, follow this quest tracker, okay, kill those 5 things, okay, you're done, boom, turn around, bam. Where in this instance, you're going to be like, what's around that corner? What's around this corner? Ooh, this is really cool. What's going on in here? And I think that, to me, is very immersing. Further, you're asking, how does it aim to create meaningful storylines and unique player experiences? The best way, or the best example I can give for this, is something I've already previously mentioned, would be epic quest lines. So with epic quest lines, it can take months to complete epic quest lines, maybe even long, maybe 6 months. It really depends on yourself, and usually the best of the best is going to get the epics first. Eventually, you know, if you really put the effort into it, you will get it. And it will involve raid bosses, it'll involve stories across multiple zones, and it's very unique for each class, and it's also very unique for each player, because it really kind of changes between players, because you have a different group of friends, and it really changes the element of what it takes, you know, to complete that quest. Also with epic quests, you really will have these interesting, as you mentioned here, storylines that will, you know, you'll go down all these different paths during your time over your duration of this quest, that will depict to you story of these characters that you have to interact with, usually NPCs and stuff like that, that you have to interact with, and the lore you get from it really just immerses you in the world, because usually epic quests, it's epic in scale, so it involves a lot of the world. It involves a really deep meaning usually behind each class, and really brings you into the player experience, or brings you into a unique experience for yourself that you really can't get anywhere else. At least that I've never gotten anywhere else. I know that I'm talking of previous experiences, but I think they'll bring that back to a whole new level in Pantheon. And finally, Lady Bembo is commenting that other MMOs have recently gone the route of streamlining quests and taking players out of the environment. With Pantheon Rise of the Fallen, your majority of your time you're not going to be questing. They'll have quests in the games and stuff like that, but quests will be, from my from my take on what I've seen so far, they're going to use quests to drive you to certain environments, or to find certain things, or to reveal the importance of certain areas. They're not so much going to use quests in the sense of, let's use them to reward you with experience to make them the main engine drive behind you leveling. So your main, what would typically pull you out of the environment is through streamlining quests, like run to this hub, complete, 1 through 20 quests, then move to the next hub, boom, you're done. Welcome to the cap. So I don't even think that'll be a problem for Pantheon with the going the route of streamlining quests and taking you out of the environment, because the whole purpose of quests will be put you deeper into the environment when you do come across them, and they'll be more engaging in the sense that there's not going to be an exclamation point over anybody's head. They used an example of you running through a town and there's a girl crying, and then you run up and then your dialogue begins. A text-based dialogue, and you can either engage or ignore and go on your way. It's up to you. So to summarize, Pantheon's pretty much going to smash all these problems into the floor and be the best game of all time. That would be my response, Lady Bembo, and I can guarantee you my mustache enjoyed the comments, so thank you very much. All right, guys, and with that, we're going to end it there. Thank you again for watching. Coming up in the next episodes, I had a couple ideas how I can try to squeeze more episodes in per week. I kind of want to make more than one, because there's a lot of topics I want to cover. And covering your guys' questions is really awesome, and I want to keep doing that. But there's some other things I want to talk about as well, as far as Pantheon's concerned. So what I'm going to try to do, because I have a 2-year-old son, or he's almost 2, and he really sucks up a lot of my time, as a lot of you probably know what that's like, which is pretty much the greatest thing in the world. So if you haven't had a kid yet, have a kid. I'm just kidding. Not like that, but totally have a kid, because they rock. They're the best thing that'll ever happen to you. Promise. What I was going to try to do is at least try to capture video when I'm able to, and then kind of stick them together. So I might be wearing like a t-shirt, and the next I'll be wearing like a hoodie, and then I'll be wearing like nothing. Now probably I'll be wearing something, but I'm going to try to do that across the week, then maybe like cut them together and see if it's not annoying enough to make it enjoyable. Hopefully it will work. I'll try it out next time. And furthermore, there's a couple of topics, especially Harold Finch. I haven't forgot about you. I'm going to be talking about yours next, as far as the player-driven economy goes, or player-driven economy goes, because that's something really important I want to talk about, and I'll probably take an entire episode to expand upon it. Thanks for watching, guys. Go ahead and like and subscribe if you like what you saw, and I'll see you again really soon.